G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. We are here on a brand new map with a brand new patch, watching two civilizations face off, and of course both of them are new. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cliffside. Let's introduce our players. In the south of the map, in the color blue, playing as the Ayyubids, we've got Wham01. And in the north of the map, in the color yellow, playing as the Juicy's Legacy, we've got Voldemar, aka the Kid. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cliffside, a brand new map. If you're enjoying this brand new content, make sure you go ahead, leave a like on that video, hit that subscribe button, and if it's your kind of thing, make sure you ring that bell for the notifications. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't think I've got any notifications turned on YouTube. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I get anxiety from notifications. So I try and keep it to a minimum. Like my phone, realistically, I think it's phone calls. Maybe a couple of text messages from select people. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, everything is on just mute all the time. And it's like, I gotta check it whenever I can. I guess I got the luxury of doing that because I appreciate some people don't obviously have that luxury. But I tell you what, have a look at this. Have a look at this sheep so close to the town center, really straddling it, just almost flaunting it right now, saying, "You can't catch me." Well, we'll have to wait and see whether Wham decides to change that tune. But it looks like Voldemar, he's doing a pretty good job catching most of the sheep early on. Now, we got ourselves a good matchup today. Juicy's Legacy up against the Ayyubids. I'm curious to see what kind of play style Voldemar looks to play for today. Mainly because this is a matchup that is, I would say, relatively straightforward as the Juicy Legacy. It's quite simple, really. The Zhuganu beats everything. That's pretty much it. Except for the Gulam. So, you've got to be cognizant of the Gulam. I guess there's also the Manjanique in play here. I was going to say, he almost missed this sheep. Not going to be the case today. Where's that one? Oh, it did actually come into the town center. So, one of the big things for the Ayyubids is dealing with the Zhuganu, especially in the feudal age. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Wham look to try and get to the castle age a little bit sooner, just so that he's got access to those units that will be effective to deal with it. Because the reality is staying in the feudal age is going to be making it difficult for him. But the age up going to be coming through now, and it is going to be the military wing in reinforcement. We've seen this opening from a couple of different players, and I'm going to be honest, it is growing on me. I am liking this a lot. We saw it from, I think, was it 3DB, who initially went for it, and the idea is simple, right? You've got a unit coming out for free that you don't have to make a production building for. You didn't have to make the unit. It comes out instantly, so the sooner you age up, the sooner that unit gets out. And you can put on some really good pressure with this unit early on. Let's say, you know, you're playing the standard Drongo build where you want to go for 2 TC Juicy Legacy. Well, guess what? You've got yourself a military unit on that front line immediately. And Wham's already scouted out his opponent's stone. He knows exactly what is up. He knows where the TC is. So he knows this is going to be the natural stone that Voldemar comes for. And if he wants to play that 2 TC style, which is probably the most common Juicy Legacy style, he's going to have trouble. So, there you go. I'm liking it already. Now, you'll also notice from my voice, I have just woken up. It's currently 10 o'clock in the morning in Australia. At least when I'm casting this game. I think I've got about a week's worth of content at the moment banked up. I'm continuing to bank up content. But, yeah, you'll notice that my voice changes over the course of it. Go back and listen to the my voice at the beginning versus my voice in, like, an hour. Well, that's if the game goes for an hour. And it'll be vastly different. But anyway, Meditation Gardens coming through here for Voldemar. Pretty decent Meditation Gardens. It looks like he will pick up, I think the gold should be in it. I'm pretty sure it gets double gold, so 60 gold, 48 food. Let's have a look and see. Oh, he didn't get the double gold. Oh, that's a little bit of an oversight, but I guess he was prioritizing the food, didn't want to miss out on that last little bit of trickle of food. I feel like 30, would you take 30 gold for 8 food? Probably. For 16 food? Probably not. The food's pretty important. You really want the food. It's just, it basically means it's like a farm or two that you don't have to worry about. It also means that you're much easier on your food income early on in the game, so it's very, very nice. But on the other side of the map, Wham, now looking to age up, we see the Desert Raider is coming out 4 minutes and 24 seconds into the game already. Keep in mind those nerfs that hit the Ayyubids will be affecting this kind of strategy early on. It means that this unit is 15 seconds slower than what it was before. 4 minutes and 36 seconds into the game, it reaches the stone. I can tell you right now, there's no way I would have collected enough stone for my town center just yet, because this Desert Raider is very quick. And have a look at this. We could have ourselves a little bit of trouble in paradise. Voldemar does have the town center out, but the Desert Raider is going to be able to snipe these out. Now, fortunately, he hasn't killed all of the sheep, But Wham could, if he's paying attention, look to try and snipe those sheep out. But fortunately, the Zhuganu's going to come out. Now, the Zhuganu does particularly well. Excuse me, my voice decided to cut out at not a good time. Now, the Zhuganu does exceptionally well against this unit. Number one is that this unit is quite expensive. The Desert Raider, I think, if I remember correctly, it costs 40, 30, 30, something like that. So you're talking, 80, 30, 30. So it's quite a bit of resources, at least 160 or at least 140 resources. The other thing to note is that this unit has no ranged armor. So the Zhuganu is doing 100% of its damage to this unit. So I'm not sure who wins one-on-one, but I feel like it's probably the Zhuganu. All right, coming through onto the backside. More pressure being put on here. Behind this, I suspect Wham may be looking for that second age, and that's exactly second age up, I guess we should say. That's exactly what it's going to be. Culture Wing advancement now coming through for him, looking for that very quick age. Where does he go upon that age up though? Does he look to go into a mosque, throw down a or get himself out a couple of dervish? I think that's probably a smart bet here. The alternative is that he also begins to move into those gulams we've talked about. And look at this pressure already coming in from Voldemar. Just the 4 Zhuganu, he will spot out this age up as well. And as long as he's able to camp out the gold, this will be very tough for Wham, because it will mean he's restricted in which units he can make at the early stage of the castle age until he regains that gold or goes to the back gold. One of the two. Scout needs to be careful though. Voldemar will be in position to get some decent damage on it. Scout will change its angle, making sure that it avoids it, but we'll spot this one out. Voldemar continuing to spam the Zhuganu at this stage of the game. Barracks getting thrown down as well. Keep in mind, Voldemar needs to be cognizant of the threat of Lancers. Even though they are Camel Lancers, they're still pretty damn strong. Looks like the second Desert Raider has arisen. Stable coming down. It is going to be movement into the Camel Lancer. Nice little check of that back gold as well. Just making sure the opponent isn't sitting on it just yet. He's kind of chilling out at the moment, Wham is. You know, yet to really commit to anything. He's got the lumber camp up on the wood line. Quite aggressive with that wood line lumber camp as well. Is he maybe thinking about getting a wall up here? Potentially. More Zhuganu to the front. And at the same time, towards that backside, it looks like no villagers will go down in the making of this casted game. But it did take a little bit of damage right here. I'd say that much. Continuing to hover around the back of the base. The Camel Lancers are in queue. He's got 2 of them on the way. Spears yet to come out. 1 in the queue. Not actually supervising either. One of the things that you can do is get that Imperial official over onto the barracks immediately, and it just guarantees you've got a nice little stream of units coming out. But now the Camel Lancer has arrived. 4 ranged armor should be able to deal pretty effectively with these Zhuganu. You can see they're struggling to get their shots off against it. And unfortunately, the Zhuganu will get cleaned up on that front, but remember they do very well against the Desert Raiders. So you've got 2 Ayyubid units that have, there's a bit of a dichotomy between the two, isn't there? It's either you do very, very well or you don't do well at all for the Ayyubid units. Now the next unit coming out, it's going to be the Ghulam. He's got 2 of them in queue. Another unit that does very well. Remember, he doesn't even need to get ranged armor playing as the Ayyubids in the Castle Age. He could just stick it with basic armor, and he's going to be doing very effective armor work against his Zhuganu opponent, because there's only 5 damage that's coming out for each of these units. But look at this, the unit number is starting to build here, and with the Spearmen online, that will mean that he's got a decent counter to those Camel Lancers. The one threat that he's got, though, are those Ghulams. But they can be kited. 1.19 movement speed. I guess you're only up against 1.12 movement speed in the Zhuganu, so they are a bit slower. But it is still a unit that will kite. Desert Raider going to get 1 shot here if it's not careful. Oh my lord, look how much damage it took from just 3 Zhuganu. Outpost gets cancelled. Villager's going to have to fall back. He'll have to make a second mining camp on that backside. Definitely the right call here. And this is a bit hard for Wham to actually to gather this gold. Now, Voldemar could attempt to come around on the backside, but doing so is quite dangerous, especially now that your opponent is in Castle Age. One thing to note is that we don't actually see the mosque coming out for him either. Nice little chase away over on that western side. Spear's doing a decent job. Managed to take out the scout, rallying towards the food. Aware of his opponent's presence. Instead of rallying across the map and potentially getting picked off, he's just rallying towards the food. Definitely a wise choice, but now villagers, the first one of the game will go down. Zhuganu not able to find any more. He's going to have to potentially look at a second lumber camp back here. He's got the wood for it if he wants to throw it down. And the Zhuganu backing away for the moment. A distinct lack of walls coming out in this game. It feels like players have agreed on a no-wall game. You know, sometimes you get it, but on Cliffside it's rare. Cliffside's a map that actually does very well with walls. Mainly because there's so many nice little wallable chokes, right? Like when you wall this off across here, all of a sudden you really limit your enemy from coming into the base. Whereas this one towards the top side, it's a little bit harder to wall this off. This is quite an open cliffside that's happening here. Let's check in now with Wham and see how he's doing. Completely outnumbered on that military side. Keep in mind, when it comes to army value, though, technically he is even with his opponent. Now, I don't trust that army value calculator down the bottom, but we'll use it for now. Wham's starting to take a slight lead. Let's check in with the cost of these units, by the way. I want to have a look and see. So Desert Raiders 80-50-50, not 80-40. What did I say? 80-20-20 or something like that. 80-30-30 maybe. And the Camel Lancer 130-110. So 240 resources and 180 resources. So definitely some big resource costs out here. But now it looks like the Zhuganoo will get taken out, but a lot of damage coming in onto that Camel Lancer. Plenty of Zhuganoo out on the field, up to 29 Zhugs now. Now also starting to mix in Palace Guards as well. Palace Guards will be a nice little medium between the Ghulams, between the back line. Definitely an important unit to have out on the field here. As long as there are Ghulams that are going to be coming out. Voldemar needs to be focused. Keep yourself in the middle of the map. Look to keep putting pressure on. Avoid chasing around these units around the edge of the map. That's exactly what he wants you to do. Delaying the game. Remember, he wants to get to his Manjanique. You get to the Manjanique, and you're going to be in an absolutely fine position here. The question's going to be about whether he does it. He does have the Ghulams out. He could look to get it down. It's only going to cost him a little bit of wood at this stage. You can see him working towards it on that wood count. Mosk has been thrown down. Dervish online shortly. Another 18 seconds. We'll start to pick up those relics. Definitely the right call. And Voldemar's still happy to play the feudal age at this stage of the game. He could go to castle, but really, what does he get? I mean, crossbows is pretty much the only thing. Veterancy, so a little bit of health. But now the Zhugs looking to overwhelm the Ghulams. They've got their ranged armor. Nice little raid coming back on the other side as well. One villager will go down. He manages to pick up the rest of them, though. And now those Ghulams completely eaten alive. Remember, they've got their maximum armor in against these units. And just repelled completely. A single mangonel could have changed the game right there, but, I mean, I'm kind of fearful that you just get overwhelmed by the amount of spears that are here. Checking in towards that top side. Once again, more units being rallied out. We hear relics slowly getting picked up. That's going to be the first of the game that's in the bag here for Wham. So, looking to try and build that eco lead here. More Palace Guards looking to chase. Villagers still inside. Get inside, villagers. Yeah. Hold your horses there, friends. It is, well, hold your camels in this case, but it is not time to be leaving the building just yet. Wolf will go down. Walls coming up on the backside, preventing a little bit of that mobility through the back. And now, a single Palace Guard gets taken out with his friend. Now the numbers on the front here, actually not that bad here for Voldemar. He's very happy with this trade, able to take out one of the Camel Lancers. The other two will manage to clean everything up, but realistically, you should be focusing this Desert Raider on the back, just because you can see just how much damage it takes compared to the Camel Lancers. Able to take it out now. The single spear looking to hold down. He's doing a pretty decent job. I think he's going to clean that one up. And now Voldemar heads back to the drawing board. 54 military units on the field at the moment. That's a huge army that he's got. Where is it, though? I don't even... Oh, it's down here. Oh, hello. Any worker kills? Doesn't look like it. He's taken out a fair few. How did I miss that one? I tell you what, sometimes I worry. Sometimes I think I might be legally blind. Not really. You know, I just realized, I had a look at OBS, and I just realized that the mini-map wasn't coming up for you guys, so hopefully that's going to fix it up for you. Hopefully it's looking a little bit better for you, a little bit bigger now. 13 minutes into the game. I guess it's time to fix the mini-map. It's time to fix up the income as well, so you can see that. But the Manjanique is out, as we would expect. This is going to be the trump card in this situation. And as soon as this Manjanique is realized, Voldemar just immediately says, okay, we got to go Castle Age. There's no two ways about it. You can't be playing with fire, quite literally. Up against the Manjanique. It's not worth it, because you're in a tough position, right? Number one is you want to dive the Manjanique, but you can't because of the Ghulams. And the Ghulams are just going to rip you apart if you do that. But the Manjanique makes its way around the corner. Depends on the avenue that he goes here. The Manjanique could come to this position and fire over the top. Will look to do it, Mangonel. It's just going to be a little bit of damage onto that spear. He will reveal himself. Not getting some absolute beautiful shots right there. Unfortunately, the Ghulam's still doing a decent job, though, on the front. You can see that Voldemar's having a little bit of trouble, a little bit of a struggle in this fight. More raids coming in on that north side. And now that age up's going to be coming through. Moving into the Shaolin Monastery. Cancels it. Goes for the Montlu Academy. Definitely the right call here. We've seen more and more players moving away from the Shaolin Monastery. Obviously, you do have relics out on the map, but the reality is this unit, it's not as good as it once used to be. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool looking unit. The ball build is 100% a legit build. But at this stage, it doesn't really feel that relevant. Voldemar building a pretty decent villager lead after taking out those workers on the south side. We didn't actually see what happened. I'm assuming he sieged down the outpost and then took out workers. Trying to find a little bit of a worker advantage in the north side. He will spot the landmark out here. Not going to be able to interrupt it. Now the Manjanique is firing upon the civilian population here. Excuse me, Manjanique. Big damage coming through. Only a little bit of damage to the workers. Keep in mind, it does get extra damage against buildings, so it does quite a bit. You guys will be familiar with my lovely Manjanique video that we did recently. Manjanique's kind of good. All right, veterancy coming through for Voldemar. Of all units, he's going to actually be going into the veteran palace guards. Well, Castle Age palace guards here. They will increase their armor slightly, their health pool slightly, damage slightly. Movement speed will stay the same. Plenty of villagers out on the map. He could look to get out and get dirty. Manjanique's still firing off. Getting some really good damage in. Is he going to switch it to the Mango? Might want to switch it to the kinetic weapon. And now on that front line, the Jugunu. Excuse me. The Jugunu trying to dish out damage on those Ghulams. Keep in mind the Ghulams do now have their +2 ranged armor in. Which means that even if you get veterancy, even if you get +2, they're still going to be taking 1 damage. So there's not a huge incentive for you to be going for it. But now the Manjanique will be surrounded, will go down. And that is the problem that we identified a little bit earlier. The fact that the Manjanique can just simply be surrounded by the melee units. The Ghulams can't kill them quickly enough. You need to bring Vils almost to repair with them. And then that way you can utilize the Jugunu to help engage. But now Wham will get cleaned up here. Voldemar doing a wonderful job with the Jugunu. Let's check in with the economies at this stage of the game. Looks like 1,400, 2,600. And, 1,300, 1,500, 2,000. Call it 2.1k. On the other side of the map, looks like we've got 900, 1,600. So a bit of a difference here. Wham with quite an advantage. I'm not sure exactly what Voldemar's doing with his villagers. Obviously, he's building the Xiangnan Tower, so looking to move into Song Dynasty. Wants to get that farm transition going. And I do actually like this from him. This makes a lot of sense. Leaving the Song Dynasty until you want to drop down that farm transition. And the moment it comes in, you unlock the granary, and then immediately just putting it down in the back of the base, you know. But ideally, we'd like to see walls up from him here. He's got enough wood here for a little bit of a farm transition. But not paying attention, the villagers will start to fall. Meanwhile, towards that south side, he begins to push forward. A distinct lack of crossbows here on the field at the moment. He's got a single crossbow out at the moment. But the Jugunus do have their upgrades coming through. Veterancy's online, but remember, it's not going to make a difference here against the Ghulams. Crossbows now coming out as well for Wham. I think the biggest thing that Wham could do at this stage is continue making Ghulams, but then just the Mangonels. But then the problem that you've got is if you make enough Mangonels, your enemy will respond with Springalds. In fact, I'd almost be tempted to see off the next Mangonel that I see, it would be a Springald coming out from Voldemar. Well, have a look at this. We've got the farm transition on the way, as we expected. Now, one of the great things about doing this farm transition that he's doing right now, where there's lots of farms around a single granary, is you can supervise this granary. Now, it's not often in the late game that you want to be supervising, and I say late game, like 18 minutes is late in the game, but it's not often that you want to be supervising drop-off points at this stage, because there's a lot of things that are going on, right? Like, you've got, you know, villagers on food that were up here, villagers on food that were over here, villagers are on food at the back here. But the reality is this is a really high source of revenue when it comes to food. So supervising this is wonderful, just because, like, realistically, how many farms are we talking here? This is what, 15 farms? 16 farms. So a pretty nice amount of farms. But now we've got walls starting to come up. They're walling on both sides, looking to wall each other off. And slowly but steadily, Voldemar is making sure the map is going to be covered off. Throwing down walls absolutely everywhere. Relics are in favor of Wham. He's picked up 5 so far. And I think realistically against the Juicy Legacy, that does make sense. Going into the Montlu Academy like this, he knows his opponent went for a fast castle, spent about 10 extra minutes in the feudal age, and as a result, the relics are pretty much going to be picked up. So you don't even really think about contesting them. It does kind of restrict your imperial age a little bit, because it means you don't have that gold trickle coming through, but there's always the prospect of trade. That's always a thing. And you've got on top of that your imperial officials, which do absolute work in the late game. When they're not bugging out, by the way. Manjaniques are out. These get revealed. 2 Manjaniques. Throws down 2 Springalds as well. Does Voldemar look to move into a siege workshop here? He does. Siege Workshop online. Expect to see an Imperial official looking to supervise this shortly. Now, he's got a lot of villagers on food, but one of the keys here is that he needs to transition quite a few villagers over onto gold, over onto wood, if he wants to play the Springald game. Because the reality is, when it comes to the Springald game, you have to outnumber the Springalds, and then you have to take out the Mangonels. There are other worlds where you don't have to play the Springald game. Maybe you want to play the Palace Guard game. But then the problem is, you're up against an opponent who's got a pretty decent composition against you. They've got crossbows. They've got Gulams. Both of these units do pretty well against Palace Guards, particularly good at blocking. So keep that in mind. Now Spear's going to be looking to try and get a bit of a raid off over here. Voldemar saying, I'm going to throw away a couple of my units that I don't really need. I know you're not making cavalry anymore. You've gone into that infantry composition that we expect in the mid-game. Couple cavalry units back here. Villager going to go down. Wham being a little bit relentless with these camel lancers. Keep in mind, he does have the steady trickle of camels coming in from the House of Wisdom every 2 minutes or so coming through. Sacred sites slowly being taken. Palace Guards now running into the back of the base. We'll find more villagers just doing annoying, cheeky little raids here. Walls have come up for most parts of the map. There are still a few openings in here. We can see that he hasn't been able to get a successful wall up just here. Towards the middle of the map, though. The numbers still strong, and Wham's managed to come back into this game. It was looking a little bit worrisome early on. Wham. Excuse me. You've got quite a large amount of siege right here, and there's not really much protecting it. Now, he will also expose the Springalds here, which is never it never feels like the right decision for me. I feel like if you want to siege with the Mangonels, go for it, because they're Manjaniques, but exposing the Springalds like this is quite dangerous. Speaking of exposed Springalds. Oh, that was close. I'm tempted right now to head into the cinematic mode. I know that they want it. I know you want me. 3 Springalds. 4 Springalds. Supervisor did indeed come on the siege workshop. We don't, in fact, have regional inspection, which would be very helpful right now. Always look to pick up these 2 upgrades at the Montlu Academy, both very affordable. Single Whip Reform, going to pay for itself quickly, and Regional Inspection, also a very cheap upgrade. Compare that to, say, something like Imperial Red Seals, which is very expensive. I would just be avoiding it. Military Affairs Bureau, kind of a bit weak as well, but Manjanique gets some good shots off. Oh, it's a massive shot into the center. All the Zhuganu taking huge incendiary damage right there. He hit absolutely every single unit. Look at that, completely spread. Now needs to bait him back over towards this side. Utilize that line of sight. Remember, body type 4 cannot LOS. That's a reference to Star Wars: The Old Republic. I don't know if you guys ever played MMOs before, but I played this one MMO where you could choose your body type, and if you were a memer, you could be a fat guy. And the problem was, fat guys couldn't LOS, which means line of sight, which means that essentially what you do is you try and hide yourself around a pillar or a corner. And if you chose body type 4, which was the fat type, you couldn't do that. And then someone made a guild called Body Type 4 Can't LOS, and I just lost my shit. I was like, that's an amazing guild name. That's a 10 out of 10. That's a 10. Anyway, it's enough meme references for you today. Do you guys play any good MMOs? I mean, you guys know I'm an MMO fan. I played Arcade 1,000 times. I actually played Arcade recently. Arcade, oh, excuse me. A little bit of a cough right there. I played Arcade recently. There was a private server that happened, and that was a lot of fun for a couple of weeks, as is all Arcade. But then RNG sets in, and well, you realize this isn't fun anymore. The RNG's taking over. Well, I guess that's the way gaming goes, though, isn't it? I guess that's the good thing about Age of Empires, is the RNG's only happens once a game when you spawn in. And then arguably, depending on how bad the game goes, it can happen multiple times throughout the game as well. But I'd say with regard to MMOs, though, I'm looking forward to what's the big one? Ashes of Creation. I'm looking forward to that. There's a couple of other MMOs as well. Like I guess you could probably call GTA 6 an MMO at this point. Like it is. We've reached that point where, you know, GTA Online is a behemoth. There's a good chance that GTA 6 will just be an MMO. Have a look at this. Speaking of MMO, these are some MMO numbers that are coming out right now. 5 Springalds in position up against 5 Springals. 6 Springals on the opposite side. Get ready for your Manjaniques. He's only got the 2 of them. Needs to keep them alive throughout the fight. Manjanique numbers still yet to build here, but he's got a beautiful set of crossbows together with the Ghulams on the front. Springalds rolling off the back. Another Springald will get thrown down, and you can see both players apprehensive about the fight about to happen. Neither of them particularly confident. And that's the consequence of both players just being on one base throughout these early stages of the game, that economies are very similar at this stage. So armies are going to be similar. So it very much comes down to positioning in these fights. Who's going to get the first shot off? And quite honestly, the best thing that you could do is just grab like 2 Springalds. So you go 1, 2, and call that control 1. Grab these 2, call them control 2. Grab these 2, call them control 3. And now you've got 3 control groups of Springalds, and you're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and try and kill the enemy Springalds. But both players are going to be doing that. They're going to pay very keen attention towards the Springalds as the Manjanique shots come through. Needs to bring all of his units back here. It needs to make sure all of the units are really close to the siege. Springald numbers have started to build. At this point, the Springald numbers being so high means that all of a sudden, going into Palace Guards is actually a really smart move as well for Voldemar. But now those Manjanique continue to fire off the superior siege weapon. The Manjanique. You know, often people talk about the Trebuchet as the superior siege weapon. I hate it when that happens. But I think people fail to forget the Manjanique exists now in Age of Empires 4. Arguably the best siege weapon in the game, if you've seen any of my 4v4 games. Beautiful little army that's built up back here for Voldemar. What's the military difference at the moment? Quite a bit ahead from Voldemar, actually. He's up 35 military pop, but remember, his units are a little bit cheaper. He is working with Jugunu. Jugunu, a formidable unit, but compared to something like the crossbow, nowhere near as expensive. He's struggling, though, on the front. You can see he's really having trouble up against these Manjaniques. Doesn't know how to engage. The other thing with the Manjanique is it's got quite a bit of range on it. Big shots coming off down towards the barracks. You know what I'd love to see right now? Is just Wham going back and just making like 4 or 5 Manjaniques. Like just right back here. Just drop them down. And then just move forward with them, and then hope that your opponent engages, and you just hit them. You blast them with it, because the Manjaniques do so much AoE damage. It hits a really large plane, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. But across the board, it does a lot of damage, and that's what's important, right? So the more you can get, the more you can stack that up. Let's bring that UI back in, though. See where these guys are at. Village account, still pretty even, Stevens. Army value slightly in favor of Voldemar, he says slightly. It's not slightly, it's quite an advantage now that it has begun to build. Those farming economies have really started to come online, and you can see he's got these cute little walls over the top of the farms. Definitely makes sense. This is something I love to do. I think it's really important. You want a wall in your farms just to keep them safe. Still working down. Now the outpost's going to come online. 200 population for Voldemar, 169 for Wham. He's looking to reinforce with a couple Springald placements, looking to role play as the Mongols towards that top side, though. Palace Guard numbers do continue to improve. He's up to 42 of them. Now look at the Springald. Oh, it's the Springald walls. They're back out. Look at the damage that comes in on that top side, though. Manjanique's getting massive shots over the top there. Still building up to a climactic finish. I can feel it coming, and I'm sure you can as well. 4 barracks being thrown down now. Triple Sacred Site behind this. 4 minutes to go. He's just stalling out for the Sacred victory at this stage. How many Springalds would you like? And the answer? Yes. 11, it seems. All right, I think this is it. I think Voldemar's going. The Manjaniques yet to turn around. There's a third one that's joined the party. Not a lot of infantry here. Springald's going to fire off down the cliff, but he doesn't have anywhere near enough units to defend this. Springald's now looking to come around. Nesta B's teeing off. Manjaniques firing down upon themselves. It looks hilarious watching. And now the Springalds continue to move up. There are way too many Palace Guards here. A distinct lack of infantry coming out from Wham, going way too heavily invested on siege, and now completely obliterating the front line. Wham taps out. Wow, that was a quick fight. I didn't think it was going to go down that way, but I tell you what, the importance of infantry should not be understated or underestimated at this closing. Ladies and gentlemen, go check them out. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can watch them live over on Twitch. Voldemar, Wham. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.